So apart from the fabric, here's everything that I need for the project. The thread is not shown here, but also definitely matching thread. This is the sketch that we made initially. Now this is the rough sketch that I made of the top. Just something very basic and simple because we don't have enough fabric, and just something to utilize the rest of our fabric. And I think this would be perfect because I think we would probably just need 2 rectangles, a shorter one for the top and a longer one for the bottom. And then for the measurements, you need the full length of the top from this point right here, not from your shoulder but from here where the top, like the body of the top, actually starts, to the hem. And then secondly, from here to the waistline, as you can see indicated with the second arrow. So just like that. And of course also your bust measurements. So we're going to take all of that and then we're going to go ahead now and cut our pieces. I might put like a small little bow here if I have like pieces left, and I still feel like doing that, but maybe not. First thing that I want to do is actually the straps. So I'm just going to go ahead and I think like cut along the edge, right, like that, to get my straps. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my strap. And typically how I like to do my straps is the length that I need, and then in terms of thickness or wideness, I typically go for like 2 inches or 1 point or 1 inch and 3/4. So okay, so I had to maneuver around a little bit just because of the limited fabric that I'm working with, but okay, this is what it all looks like. Like this is all of the fabric, and then this is all that I've cut out, and these are going to be the straps. And in terms of how I got the length, I just measured on myself like where I want the straps to stop and start. That's how I got the length. And then in terms of thickness, like I said, I usually do either 2 inches or 1 3/4, and in this case I did 1 3/4, so just right before 2 inches, just right there. That's how thick both of them are. Now I have these folded over like this, and this part is wider than this part, so I think the wider part I'm going to use for the bottom right here, because I want more volume at the bottom than I want at the bust actually. And so this is what we have, and so this part is going to be the part that goes around the bust, and it's already folded over, and I think I have about 20 something inches here. Hold on. So yeah, in its folded over state, this is about 22 inches wide, which is perfect because that's almost twice the amount of inches that goes like all the way around my bust. So that means I'm going to have enough volume for that, because I don't want too much fabric, but at the same time I want it to be a bit loose, you know. So if you want more volume, you can do twice the measurement of your bust, or you can add anywhere from 10 inches to 12 inches on your bust measurement to get the width that you're going to use. And then in terms of length, like I said, I already took my body measurement from this point to the waist, which for me is 7 inches, and then from that same point all the way to the hem, which is 16 inches. So that means this bust piece is just going to be 7 inches, and then the full top is 16 inches. So 16 minus 7 gives us 9. So that means this part from the waist to the hem, which is this piece right here, is going to be 9 inches. And remember, because there's going to be a seam at the center right here, and then we're of course going to hem it, and at the top part I'm also going to put an elastic band, you definitely want to add in at least 2 inches for sewing allowance, so that you don't end up with your top looking shorter than you'd like it to be, right? Always remember your sewing allowance. So I'm going to go ahead now and mark like the length, because these two parts are actually longer than what I need, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then cut out the 2 rectangles and show you what I have. This is what our top looks like, and as you can see, the bottom part is a bit wider. It's about 8 inches wider. It's about 4 here and 4 here, because like I said, I want more volume on the bottom than on the top. If you want equal volume, then definitely make like both pieces the same width. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I think I can first of all sew my straps. So usually what I like to do, which is what I'm so used to doing because I didn't have a loop turner for the longest time, was to fold in the rough edges first of all like this, and then fold over the whole thing. So with the whole thing like this, most of the time I would use my iron to press it so it's nice and flat and easy to sew, and then just sew with a regular straight stitch from one end all the way to the other, and then press it once again just so it looks all finished. But I think I want to try out my loop turner, because I just realized that I don't think I've actually used it. So with a loop turner, all you need to do is fold it this way, so you have the right side of the fabric on the inside, and you just fold it once like this, and then with your sewing machine you use a regular straight stitch and you go all the way from one end to the other, and then you use your loop turner to turn it right side out. So I'll show you how I do that. That's the first thing that we're going to do before going ahead with the rest of it. And I'm thinking because I'm going to put an elastic up here, which is just like going to end up being around, like going around my underarm / chest, and then there's also going to be an elastic here at the waist. I think for this part I want to fold it over like this, and then just because this is right around where my underarm would be, so maybe just come down by 2 inches just to make this part a bit lower, and then just like do something like that, just because I think it might fit better if the parts that are right under my arm are a bit lower. I'm not too sure about that because I just realized I haven't done like this style of neckline for my tops before, so I guess I'll try that and see. But anyway, first of all, let's do the straps one thing at a time. So this is what a loop turner looks like, and the end, hold on, it's just kind of like a crochet hook, so you have this like flippy thing. And yeah, so I've gone ahead to sew, and you can see I sew like this is where my seam is. So now I'm simply just going to stick my loop turner in from one end like this, and then when it gets out from this end, I'm going to hook it into like, wait, I've actually never used this before, hold on. I'm going to hook it in, like, how do I do this? I think you just like figure out a way to hook. Okay, so I'm hooking my like a small piece of my fabric in there, and then I'm just going to like pull it through and hope that this all works out. Oh wait, I think I should have trimmed off all of this excess. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I had so much excess fabric before, so I've trimmed off all of that. I've put my hook through like a small piece of my fabric at the end and closed it. So I'm just going to pull my fabric through. And there you have it. So this is what my strap looks like. That was such a struggle, by the way. Like at some point I almost gave up, but here's what my strap looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and do it for the second one, and then I'm going to take them to my ironing board and press them. Always be sure to press your seams, press your pieces, because like sometimes that makes all the difference, honestly. Right, so our straps are all sewn and pressed, and this is what they look like, which is exactly the size that I was going for, so I'm really happy with that. Now the rest of the top, like I told you, I wanted to fold this over and just like cut about 2 inches and sort of create this arc, because I wanted it to be, the neckline to be a bit lower at my underarms, because I feel like that might be more comfortable. So this is the shape that I ended up with. I hope this doesn't turn out to be a mistake, but I think it will be fine, honestly. Now next thing that we need to do, I'm actually going to close this end right here, and then for the bottom I have like both sides are open, so I'm going to close both of them. I'm also going to come up here and create the tunnel for my elastic band. And really, when it comes to using elastic bands, I like to take the measurement of wherever, like the circumference of wherever the elastic band is supposed to go on, in this case my upper chest, take the measurement of that area, and then when cutting the elastic band, I use that measurement and take out maybe 4 or 5 inches, depending on how snug I want it to be. And also some elastic bands, you would notice some of them are a bit more like, have like, I don't know how to describe it, but some of them feel a bit more tense, like harder to stretch, and then some of them have like an easier stretch, like these smaller ones, right? So with these smaller ones, I might take out maybe 4 or 5 inches from that original measurement, just so that it's snug and it's not loose. And over time, even after washing and wearing and tearing, even after laundering or like washing your clothes and whatever, like it doesn't get like easily slack or like whatever. So anyway, after closing that end and creating my tunnel and closing these 2 ends, I think I'm also just going to go ahead and hem the bottom of the top. So then I'll come back and show you how I pass my elastic through that channel and how we're going to attach these two together and put the elastic band around that area. And really, after that, all that'll be left to do will be to attach the straps, and we're done. This is a pretty easy top. I feel like I'm going too fast, but also sometimes some people complain that my videos are too long, so I don't know. Let me know if you have any questions or any like issues with this video or anything. So let's just go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're basically wrapping up at this point, honestly. So like I said, I went ahead and hemmed. I also serged like my rough edges, but if you don't have a serger, you can use your zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. Anyway, like I said, I created the channel for my elastic band, and this is my elastic band right here, the one that goes all around here. And I left this spot here open because that is where we're going to pass it in through and then pass it out through, so we can like close the open edges or the open ends. So I'm going to take my safety pin and I'm going to pin it to one end, and then we'll pass it around. So once you've created your channel, it's so easy to insert your elastic band. So I've attached my safety pin to one end, and then I'm just going to slip it into that open space that I left, like that, and then just pass it all the way around. And then now you want to be careful that like the other end of the elastic band, that's the part that doesn't have the safety pin, you want to make sure that part doesn't like accidentally slip in, because then you have to start again. So I usually just like take that end, hold it here like this, and then I use my regular pin to pin it in place just so it doesn't accidentally slip in, and then I go ahead with the rest of my elastic. And now I'm just going to use my safety pin to hold both of them together, and then I'm going to stretch it out. And there we have it. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and then I'm going to run over this here like multiple times just to make sure that it is firm and secure before removing the safety pin. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do, or the last two things actually, is to attach these two and insert the elastic band, and then attach the straps now that we're done with the elastic on the chest area. So you can see the stroke markings that I made here. If you've seen any of my videos where I do like gathers, I always like to mark 4 points on the different pieces that we're connecting. So I mark the center front, the center back, and the two sides, so we have like 4 equally distant points. So I do that on this piece and I do that on the other piece so that I can match up those pieces and pin them together. And like I showed you earlier, you can see that this bottom piece is wider than this one on the top. So after pinning these 4 points together, I'm going to go ahead and create just small like little pleats right in these like 4 areas of my bottom part of my top, and then I'm going to pin those as well and sew the whole thing together. And the reason why I do this, I've explained before, but just in case this is the first video of mine that you're coming across, the reason why I do this is just to make sure that the gathers or pleats are equally distributed, right? So we don't have too many on the front and not enough on the back, or too many on one side and not enough on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what that looks like before going ahead to sew it. After sewing it together, that's attaching these 2 pieces together, then I would go ahead and insert the elastic band. But let's just pin this whole thing together first. Alright, so here's what the top looks like, and these are the pleats that I made, just like little pleats a few inches away from each other. I actually didn't measure, like I just honestly freehanded that because there's going to be an elastic anyway, and it's going to like scrunch it up a bit more, so it doesn't need to be like perfectly spaced and all of that. Now I did try it on because I pinned my straps in, and I thought to just try it on and see how it looks, and I realized that I think I want this upper part to be a bit shorter, so I'm just going to trim off about 1.5 inches from it. And I also noticed that because like the bust is in the front, right, so the back it lays more flat, I probably should make the back, that's for this upper part, probably should make the back about 2 inches shorter than the front. So I'm going to go ahead and unpin all of these pleats that I just made to trim off that excess, because yeah, I think it will look better that way. So just a note for when you are recreating yours, you definitely want to make the back of your top, that's specifically this upper part that goes around the bust, you want to make the back shorter than the front, at least 2 inches shorter than the front. And yeah, just try it on, make sure you have the right measurements, and like, you know, sometimes it's trial and error like that with sewing, so it's a good thing I hadn't sewn on this bottom part before realizing that. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to reattach this before showing you how I attach the elastic band, and then I'll show you what the finished top looks like. So let's go. All right, so this is what our top looks like. Not very cute right now, but I tried it on and it looks a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and just sew down my straps, right? And I'm just going to like go back and forth a few times with my regular straight stitch on all 4 points. Now that I have shortened this part and reattached my bottom part of my top, I'm going to use a regular straight stitch and sew the whole thing down to connect both pieces together. And then, okay, hold on. Right, so this is the bottom part of the top that you're looking at. I tucked in the top. So remember those 4 points that I made: the center front, center back, and then the 2 sides. Because we have the side seams, I didn't actually mark it. I just know that where I have the side seams, those are the 2 sides. But if you don't have side seams, then you definitely want to use your chalk or like a pin or something to mark those points. So we have those 4 points. So I did those 4 points also on my elastic band. So I have my center front, my center back, this side, and then this other side is going to be the one that like where the thing is closed off. So I'm going to pin each of those 4 points of the elastic band to each of the 4 points on my top first of all, and I'll show you what that would look like. So I just pinned this one segment to show you. So the elastic band is obviously shorter than what we have on the waist of the top, which is exactly what you want. So when I'm going to be sewing this down, I'm going to stretch it out like this. Hold on. I'm just going to stretch it out with my hand like this, and then hold it stretched out as I pass it through my sewing machine. And then I'm going to be using a regular straight stitch as well. So wait, actually I think I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. Actually that will be more reliable for the elastic band, but I think a straight stitch would also work in this case. But anyway, I'm going to sew it down while holding it stretched out, so that by the time I release it, like it scrunches right back up, and we have that like scrunch effect when we're wearing it. And then like even when I have like a little foot baby, my top can still stretch to accommodate that. So I'm going to first of all sew the top and the bottom parts of the top together, like attach the 2 pieces together before going ahead to do the thing with my elastic band. And before I do that with my elastic band, I'm actually going to close this end as well, you know, so just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth multiple times, and then pin it in all those 4 points to my top and stretch it out as I sew. So I'm going to do all of that, and then I'm going to show you the finished look. And this is what our finished top looks like. So from the back, and we're done. So you can see like why it makes a lot more sense to have like a higher neckline in front, and then to sort of dip down under the arms, and then like at the back as well, like why the back should be shorter than the front, because you know. So yeah, this is what my top looks like, and I really love it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And yeah, like this is the elastic band. So you see, by the time you have the elastic band like laying directly on the waist, you don't even really notice those uneven pleats that we created in the process of joining the top to the bottom.